Good evening, everyone. Welcome to CML InfoTech. Today, we're talking about CCNA from the Network Fundamentals, Day 2, Part 2. Hi, welcome back. We have discussed about the extended star topology. Extended star topology, which means when we involving more than one switch in our network design architecture. Considering this, I have few computers in the ground floor and few computers in the first floor. I want to make them a network. And this ground floor system connected to one switch. And the first floor systems are connected to the first floor switch. Okay. So the switch, this is just I mentioned here, but in the reality, the system should goes to the faceplate from the small patch code will goes to the faceplate. So let's say this is my faceplate. Example, this is one of the employee cabin where they have the system connected to the switch or connected to their faceplate, which will go to the cable line properly. Then it comes to the call called IDF, where the systems, where the switch is placed is called IDF. Then in the IDF, there would be a rack. In the rack, there would be a patch panel. So this connection will be terminated into the patch panel. Then there's a cable riser, cable manager. And from there, there will be a small patch cord will be again connected to the switch. This is the real connectivity. But just for the understand that we have a ground floor with one switch and the first floor with another switch. So where the switch is connected, that room we call it as a IDF. So this IDF we call IDF ground floor, and this is IDF first floor. And these systems need some services. That services is coming from server. That services from the server could be anything. Example, file server, DHCP server, DNS server, FTP file transfer protocol server, or backup server. It could be anything. So this server is connected to one central switch. Even this also have the connection from the server to the patch panel and from the patch panel to the switch. So generally, all the servers are located in the MDF room. Which room? MDF room. All the servers big switches, firewall, NAS, load balancer, or bandwidth analyzer, could be anything, or the wireless LAN controller. The higher end or the major rollable product always will be in the MDF. We also known as DC, data center. And from the server farm switch, or sorry, from the MDF, where the server is connected to the switch, we call it as a core switch. And from the core switch, again through the patch panel, proper cable line will be connecting to your access switch. Between switch to switch, always we recommended to pull the cable with the fiber. And from the access switch to the edge devices would be copper cable. So here we have an access switch, and we have here core switch, 2 access switch. Let's say access switch 1, access switch 2, then we have core switch. So here, this is called 2-tier hierarchy, because we have a core and we have access. So when we have multiple switches will be involved in order to develop the design, this is called extended star topology. But in the small scales, small business implementation, you can see 124 port switch, less than 20 camera, 1 NVR. So the core by itself and the access switch by itself, single switch. So that's we'll consider as star topology. So hope you understood. Now we go think about the next topology, which is mesh topology. The mesh topology, or we considered in the ISPs, like it's called end-to-end connectivity. This will be enable us to communicate from one device to another device with a massive line connections. Like from point A to point B, if I miss one line, there could be a multiple line to reach those area by running with a certain number of algorithm called shortest path first, round robin, or Dijkstra. There could be many. We'll discuss later in this class. But reaching until now, you just to understand in a clear way about what is a star topology, what is the extended star topology. If you want me to talk more in another language, you wish to tell. Okay, if you are difficulty to understand my way of communication. The hybrid, which is very less nowadays, was gonna say that mix up with the bus, star, or ring together. So generally, we always mixed up with the wired and wireless with the star and extended star. There is no more usable from the bus topology as well as from the ring topology. Any doubts? Okay, we'll go for next session, peer-to-peer network and server-based network. Still, this area, you guys are always touched in the real scenarios, but just we do certain brush up on this. The peer-to-peer network and the server-based network, which is very, very simple. Let's say you have in an organization, let's say you have 5 employee having 5 PC. Or let's say 3 or 4 system. Of course, this 4 system, you should connect it to a network. And in your office, there is an internet coming from the ISP, which is either Vodafone or QTEL or any other relevant ISPs. That ISP connection, we will coming with a set-top box, and from there you're connecting to your switch, and all your system is getting getting internet. Or even you also have a Wi-Fi where all user Wi-Fi product will also get the internet. Now, in this design, if there is no a central person that can manage your all services, which we call it as a peer-to-peer, P2P. I mean, nobody has higher power, authority to manage others. All are equal. In this scenario, if a system goes down, others will not make any impact until this system giving any services to others. If there is no service given by each other with anyone, they all are independent in their network called peer-to-peer. I can use any operating system in this. Example, I'm going to use Linux. I'm going to use SUSE. I'm going to use Microsoft or Apple. It could be anything. Even within Microsoft, I'm going to use Windows 10, Windows 11, or Server 2016, or Server 2019. Could be anything in each OS, in each computer. Even nobody has a central authority to maintain or to manage others. They all are referred as individual system, which is again coming back to the P2P networks. ആർക്കും ആരെയും സെൻട്രലായിട്ട് മാനേജ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഇല്ല, മാനേജ് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല, എല്ലാവരും ഇൻഡിവിജ്വലി വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള നെറ്റ്വർക്കിനെ വിളിക്കുന്ന പേരാണ് പിയർ ടു പിയർ നെറ്റ്വർക്ക്. Then what is the meaning of server-based network? By referring to this design, you can see there is a one system called centrally called server, and others are client of that server. So this server is providing some set of services to these clients. Then this network will considered as a server-based network. So let's say you have a switch and you have a mini system connected to this switch. And these all system need a username and password from a central system. This system should release a username and password to this systems. As an example, my company name called CML InfoTech. So I'm enrolling a new employee called XYZ, and I'm giving this system to this XYZ user. So my username would be xyz@cmlinfotech.com. So I need to assign this username to this system from my server with the limitations. What does it mean by limitations? Let's say what time they need to log in, what all the services that they need to access from that system on a timely basis, what all need to be delete, edit. I'm giving you massive restrictions to that user in order to act accordingly in my organization. So there is a central server who providing the services. So these type of services, if I have in my organization, then I'm going to tell that's a server-based network. To implement the server-based network, my computer, which is considered as a server, must have a server OS. Example, 2012, 2016, 2019, or 2022, kind of any server OS from Microsoft, and my client must be one of the client OS. Let's, for example, you may heard about XP, Vista, Windows 2000, Windows 2010, Windows 2011. could be anything. And this system, after I install the operating system and I made this system as a server, then I'm going to call this system as a DC, domain controller. And the user who can manage this domain controller, I'm calling as enterprise administrator in order to manage. Let's say I also need another service, which is called DHCP. So I'm use another system and I'll enable DHCP in this. And this DHCP service is providing to all my clients. So this also must be a server OS. DHCP is nothing but assigning automatic IP to the client. So this type of, when I have a server in my organization, then I referred as server-based network. So in shortly, we understood that client-based OS or the peer-to-peer network and server-based OS, or server-based network. Then there is another topic called member server. What is the meaning of member server? Example, in my organization, one of the server I configure for domain controller to provide a username and privilege to my clients. Same time, I also need to provide a services from email, Outlook, FTP, DHCP, DNS, mail server. There could be many other services that I need from a different server. And those type of server must be under server OS. Then I'm going to call that server as a member server. എൻ്റെ ഒരു കമ്പനിക്കകത്ത് ഒരു സെർവർ ഡൊമെയിൻ കൺട്രോളറായിട്ട് ആക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നു. അതേസമയം എനിക്ക് എൻ്റെ ക്ലയന്റിന് ഓട്ടോ IP കൊടുക്കാൻ ഒരു സെർവർ വേണം. സർവീസ് പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആളെയാണ് സെർവർ എന്ന് പറയുക. അതിലൊരു സർവീസാണ് DHCP സർവീസ്. ഇപ്പോൾ DHCP സർവീസ് പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു സെർവർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അതൊന്നിക്ക് 2012 20 above എനി സെർവർ ഓപ്പറേറ്റിംഗ് സിസ്റ്റം ആയിരിക്കണം. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സെർവർ ഓപ്പറേറ്റിംഗ് സിസ്റ്റം ഇൻസ്റ്റാൾ ചെയ്ത് ഒരു സർവീസ് കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ആ OSന് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ സിസ്റ്റത്തെ വിളിക്കുന്ന പേരാണ് മെമ്പർ സെർവർ. Then we have a minimum network requirement. This all you guys already heard about that. In order to implement the wired network, what do I need? I need a NIC card, which is network interface card, to connect to the UTP cable into my system. Majority of the laptop will have the built-in NIC, even for the desktop. Then I need a cable, which is either fiber or copper cable, in order to connect them if I do wired network. Then I need a central device, could be hub, bridge, switch, in order to connect those edge devices into that network switch. This is one of the example of Cisco switch, which is referred as a 3750 is the model number. And you can see there are a lot of let's what I could say. You can see a hole. This is, we call it as a port, PORT. This is, I believe, a 48 port switch, or 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16, 16, 16. So this is one of the Cisco switch, the model number called 3750. So there is a specific reason by giving the model number. We will refer that in the later stage. So this is one of the other example which connected the switch into the rack. And these are the simples. Now we have a new topic called networking standard. Have you heard about anything OSI reference model? I wish to talk 2 or 3 minutes from you guys. Tell me, how do you feel the session? Are you okay to grasp my way of communication, or do I need to make it slow, or do I need to change the way of discussion? How do you feel? So I can continue, right? The upcoming topic, I would say, this is one of the boring topic, by the way. Yeah. One of the, why I meant it's a boring topic. It's OSI reference model. Majority you guys heard about this. Okay. This OSI reference model is taking 1 week continuity session to close or to understand. But we wish to complete the topic in a minimum time frame. We don't want it to go much into theory. We are majorly focusing based on the real scenarios. So I'll give you a brief idea and the conclusion about the OSI reference model. Later, we can add the content into an OSI reference model. The entire network or inter-network communication across the globe are moving through OSI reference model. People will be eliminated based on their requirements. What does it mean? When a people who are talking based on the mobile phone conversation, the OSI reference model will be moved based on the mobile phone conversation. When a people talking based on the wireless, they will be eliminate the OSI based on the Wi-Fi. We as a team here to eliminate the OSI based on the common or general concept, which you can later divide it based on your knowledge, your idea, your requirement. The first topic, why we need to go through OSI reference model. What is the benefit or the use of the OSI reference model? If you can see my screen, you can see there are few teams like Internet Engineering Task Force, IEEE, or there are other teams who are commonly involved and developed a common standard called OSI reference model, which means if something need to deliver from one product to another product, the between those must need to go via OSI reference model. In order to deliver anything in the global, that needs to go through an OSI reference model. So by looking into the screen that you can see, in the early 1980, the DECnet, the IBM, and the other vendor introduced their own standard. Later, they are moved into TCP/IP. Then from 2000 onwards, this is completely based on the TCP/IP standard. We currently focusing and working based on the TCP/IP concept. So let's say, why do we need OSI standard? You do not be confused. There are three common names: ISO, OSI, and iOS. ISO is an organization who are majorly contributed to develop the OSI as one of the key team. OSI is the reference model in order to transmit data in a right way. iOS is an operating system like Windows or Linux. The same way, iOS is an operating system which is from Cisco. If you look into any Cisco switch, that you can see that operating system from iOS. The way if you look into the Juniper network, you can see JunoOS. Aruba devices, you can see AOS, Aruba OS. If you look into any Extreme Networks, it's a US company who have switches, Wi-Fi, etc. So the Extreme Networks device operating system, we call it as XOS. So this is just for your information. So coming back to the point, in the OSI reference model, there are 7 layers. I recommended everybody have to go through the OSI reference model, and you have to learn and by heart by addressing the use of each layers, not just simply by heart. So if you look into this, it's starting from the higher, but the number is coming from the bottom, like a 1, 2, 3. application, presentation, session, transport, network, data link, and physical. So we always recommended to tell the name based on the layer number. Like for example, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, and layer 6 and 7. So when I used to say layer 3, you have to have an idea. The layer 3 means network layer. You need to learn in this way. Layer 3, network layer. Layer 2, data link layer. Every layer have its own role while transferring a data. If you try to skip any one of these layers while moving your data to anywhere, your data will not be accomplished successfully. That is mandatory. Okay, we'll see what's the difference. So this is the key element. You can see a transmitter and receiver. From the transmitter, you can see from the application layer when it's going down until the physical layer, the size of the data is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And from the receiver end, when the receiver receiving from the physical layer, this going to the user, in order to read it, the data will be getting lower and lower and lower and lower. So the physical layer is nothing but the cable or any physical equipments. So just think in your mind, you connected a system wired to another system, and you wanted to send something to them. So how will you prepare this? Think in yourself. You are opening a software. That's the first task. Either Excel, PowerPoint, Word, or anything relevant document that you are opening. When you open any document, what's your first task? You are going to type in that document. Let's say I want to write any letter to you. I opened Word file. I started to state that, dear respected sir, or dear respected, or dear ma'am, I would like to write on behalf of this and so topic. This is my first level of conversation. So this is called application layer. You're gonna write something by using an app. It could be anything. Then you start. Once you started creating anything, your final task that you are sending to your neighbor or to your destination, that will be going from your system via NIC. Am I right or wrong? Network interface card. So in a short way, the first task that you do, creating a data by using your own applications. Anything, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, anything that you created, that's your first task. And the last task, that you are saving your data, you're sending your data through the physical layer, the NIC. And the receiver, who will be receiving through the cable and moving with a different area within the OSI, and further on the last, you will be receiving with your same applications. If you saved with the Word file, you're opening with the Word file and you just started reading. So by going through your pictures, that you can see that the first layer, your data will be a data, then getting bigger and bigger and bigger until your physical layer on the other side getting lower in order until you receive and read the data. This is the altogether is approach of the OSI layer. So what is the meaning of getting bigger and bigger and bigger and moving into lower and lower on the receiver end? There are some functionality happening within this that's called the actual real-time conversation of the OSI reference model. You can see on the other layer that your application layer, you're creating a data by using any app. On the physical layer, you are sending a data with the physical equipments like a cables. And in between that, there are multiple products being engaged. Like for example, you can see Wi-Fi, MAC address, routers. Then you can see many other security elements that is involved. We will discuss each one individually and in depth. In the reality, the application presentation session, we will learn by individual, but in the reality, that's all together will be will be combined as a single layer called application layer from the TCP/IP. So we can be able to read each layer activity in depth from the Wireshark or ethereal software that you need to understand in order for the proper flow of your communication, or in detail that you can discuss with any of higher engineering team to develop your knowledge to understand where the communication is being stopped. Therefore, in reality, they are focusing through TCP/IP. So we wish to learn both OSI reference model or TCP/IP model. The TCP/IP model, we call it as a DoD. So the first 3 layer, we call it as a software, and the bottom 4, we call it as a hardware. So let's say I'm going to give you a brief idea about, do not be confused. It's a little bit confused topic, but it is very easy and quite interesting topic. Let's say we have application layer. The task you do, create data. Okay. How will you create the data? By using, let's say, Word. Okay. After you create a data, your next task is save, right, in the system, or in between you will save it. However, you need to save it. When you do save, what will happen? The Word will go with the doc, or any kind of extension, or you can see .exe, or any relevant extension. That's called the job from the presentation layer. Then, once you save the data, there's an additional task from the session layer will happen. So by having application presentation session, the final outcome from these 3, that's making sure that your data be ready for transmission. In order to be ready your data, you have to go through certain elements. One of the key elements that you may heard about encoding. What is encoding? Encoding, compression, and encryption. And there would be an opposite side: encoding, decoding, compression, decompression, encryption, decryption. Encoding means the data which the data converting from your human language to the computer language, and vice versa. You heard about ASCII, EASCII, or something in this way. So these 3 functionality will be happening in the presentation layer the moment you save the data. So converting data from your language, like for example, from English to the computer language. Compression means to making a lower space. Like you remember that you have WinZip, WinRAR, certain tool that we will do in order to compress the data to use less space or minimize the space. That's called compression. The encryption means converting your human data, converting your data into hypertext. I mean, the data will be converted into different format which the others cannot read it. Example, if I want to say something to you, I'm going to use an encryption methodology and will inform you I'm used this encryption methodology for you to read it. So you need to use the same encryption methodology to decrypt the data, which means, I don't know, maybe you guys have already heard about DES, pre-DES, AES, SHA, HMAC. These are the encryption protocols, encryption methodology. This encryption methodology we are using majorly in VPN. Or when you're going to use a WhatsApp, that you can see that you can send your data, it's been encrypted. So if I want to say something to you, among all, I wanted to deliver one data to somebody. So I'm going to tell you something which he or she can only understand those language. As an example, one of the guy wants to say something to you. Chenagidiya, utaita, hegidira. So if I say something in this way, which is from the Kannada language, people who can understand only those language who are really understand. I'm just giving an example just for you to understand that. So the encryption means converting your data into ciphertext, which can readable only if the other party using the same set of decryption methodology. Otherwise, the data will be invalid. You cannot read it. So these three functionality can be run in your system during the presentation layer functions. Okay, I'm gonna share you on screen. Can you see my screen? So let's say, once again, let me share it again. If you can see my screen, my details, I'm gonna give you properties, then advanced. You can see here compression to compress my data, or even I could do encryption in order to encrypt my entire data. Okay, the encoding and decoding, we won't do anything. It happen automatically. So let's see if I do apply for this folder only, just for making very fast compression. You can see an icon differently appeared here, which is I encrypted. Okay, so this is something which I can do in this way. So you just need to understand about the encryption and compression. Okay, so we are into the 3-layer. Can we continue for another 20-25 minutes? Okay, so thank you for connecting with us. Thank you. Have a good day for connecting with us, inshallah, from CML InfoTech.